We have about 600 people watching right now.
Holy cow. Wow. Hello, everybody. Can they see us now?
Not yet.
Ah.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome all to the Digital Meetings in Electronic Games, one of the Think Tech Initiatives program in partnership with the Saudi Federation of Electronic Sports in the season of Gamers Without Borders. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Bاسم المحمدي. I'm the Chief Operation Officer in RAS Group and the founder of Excitement, the game track company. Think Tech Initiative is an umbrella of the Strategic Awareness Project that is launched by the Saudi Ministry of Communication and Information Technology in cooperation with its gaming version with the Gamers Without Borders season to anticipate development in the world of electronic games and spread knowledge to the community of modern sport and attract all those interested to position Saudi Arabia as one of the forefront of innovative countries in the field of electronic games and achieving the goals of Vision 2030. Today, we are talking about video games industry improvement in the last decade with our guest, Mr. John Combs, John Davidson, Ali Al-Harbi, and Sa'ud Al-Wahabi. Before we start, I want to just remind our viewers to write your questions in the Q&A session or the chat with ending it with a question mark so we can read it, and we'll read all the questions and answer them at the end of this session. So with no further ado, we'll start Mr. John Combs to introduce yourself, please.
Hello, I'm John Combs. I am a 20-year veteran in the industry. I've done everything from game dev to publishing to biz dev throughout my career. I've worked on titles such as Command and Conquer Generals, Supreme Commander, Monday Night Combat, Planetary Annihilation. Yeah, it's nice to be here. So yeah, that's me.
Nice meeting you, John. Ali, you are next to my screen, so.
Yeah, thank you, Bاسم. I'm happy to be with you tonight or today in this meeting. Actually, I'm Ali Harbi, a founder and the CEO of UMX Studio. UMX Studio is a game development studio based in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Actually, we starting actually in 2014, our game released with local culture, and in 4 days, this game become a top one in multiple countries. Yeah, in short time. So we believe that local culture gives the gamer and mobile new experience. So we starting development game, and there is many stages actually the UMX Studio go with it. Today we have 50 million downloads, and our community it's around 3 million monthly active users. We focus on now to build Tubu Crossing game, stuck on Tubu Crossing a long time, and we have a good community, most of them from MENA region. Yeah, and also we are working to integrate that game with esports. Yeah, so that is it simply. Thank you.
Nice to have you with us, Sally. Mr. John Davidson, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So I first entered the esports space as the head of partnerships at GameStop, the world's largest specialty gaming retailer, where I facilitated partnerships and built their esports strategy. I have my own consulting company called DLC, Davidson Learning Company, where I help brands and agencies understand how to engage the esports community effectively. I'm the chairman of the Esports Trade Association, and we have an upcoming conference we're excited about, September 12th through 15th in Chicago. Love everybody to join us if you are available. I also work with PRG Production Resource Group, which is the world's largest entertainment production company, where I lead their global esports vertical from a business development perspective. And lastly, I'm the host of the DLC Drop podcast, where I interview industry leaders telling their stories behind their journeys and insights on innovation. Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. Hi, John. Saud, please introduce yourself to us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Bاسم. My name is Sa'ud al-Wahabi. I'm the founder and CEO of Nafis platform, which is an esports platform to organize tournaments online and offline. And I'm also the chief operation manager for Vanguard, which is the leading company when it comes to event management, esports event management to be specific. I started with esports in 2007 from a passion side. Like I love organized tournaments, so that passion became a career, and I love doing it. Thank you.
Okay. I can't tell with the PC behind you. I know that one.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so excited about this meetup. Actually, we're going to talk about several topics today, and we'll start with the first one: is how does the online gaming and mobile gaming are going to change the acceleration of the gaming industry? So maybe we'll start with John Combs, please.
Sure. Actually, can you repeat the question so I can speak directly to it?
Yes. How the online gaming and the mobile gaming as well are going to change the acceleration of the gaming industry?
Well, I think mobile gaming in general is going to change it greatly. I think you're already starting to see PC games switch to kind of their pricing model. So it kind of goes back to, if anybody's old as our age, the old arcades where you're plunking quarters, but now instead of plunking quarters, you're spending gems. So you're going to see a lot more of that. You see most of the major games now are having microtransactions. Even Fortnite, you're buying skins, you're buying accelerations in your curves and stuff like that. I think you're going to see more of a trend towards that for sure. And especially with cloud gaming on top of that, you're going to be able to have anyone play from anywhere on any device. It's limited right now. I have to have an Xbox Series X in my house in order to play. And as soon as cloud gaming catches on, you're going to see that everywhere. Stadia was a big effort in that. We can debate all day on how successful that was or is. But I think companies are still trying to do that. Amazon just came out with Luna, and it's going to, one, open up all kinds of different games we can actually build. And two, it's going to bring a lot more people in because it's more accessible. During COVID here, at least in the States, gaming has boomed hugely. And so there's more money flowing into the industry. There's going to be more people building games on different platforms. I think you're going to see a massive acceleration over the next 2 years.
Amazing. That's right. Maybe we go to you, Ali, as long as you are specialized in the mobile games. How do you see that contribution in the gaming industry, and how this will affect the gaming industry?
Yeah, great question. Actually, since we start until today, we see every year 2x growing. In revenue, and also we see that there is a lot of spending on mobile games, especially in app purchase. So I was talking about MENA region because we are focusing on MENA region. So we see, as I said, 2x growing in revenue, and also the player interesting more about how gaming reflects culture. It's not localization, it's experience, whole experience. And also when we look to our current live game, we see the number of users growing year of year, almost 25%. And that actually gives us to go to next level by building a new title for console, and we are planning to release it next year. So the growing, it's very promising, and especially in this region, I read in news though the percentage of growing, it's the highest in the worldwide. some publisher, they interesting also to come to this, I mean for mobile, not console, to come to this region. When you look to this mobile version or mobile games, you see the potential very high, but it's not easy to make business. It's in our experience, we spend a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of efforts to understand the behavior, analysis the users or the market, doing market research with game development and game design. Especially for MENA region, the infrastructure for gaming and developing game, it's really tough process, and you cannot find some, let's say, guidance or people they making a game. So but it's really promising as we see from our experience.
Yes, that's true. And we talked about the scarcity of businesses in the Middle East and the Arab, like the Asia, West Asia, and also South North Africa, and why it's not booming yet. At the same time, it's a global industry that can be implement anywhere. An earlier topic that we mentioned earlier in this series of meetups. Great. John Davidson, would we go to you about the same question? How do you think that is affecting the gaming industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the online component I'll address first, and then mobile. Online's really interesting because it has grown our ecosystem, our esports industry, in the opposite way of traditional sports. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is traditional sports, you and I, Ollie, we start, let's say, a soccer team, right? And then it grows into our city, and then the county, and the state, and the country, and then globally, potentially, right? And what we've seen, because the online nature of video games and esports is it's been global. And what we're seeing specifically here in the States is it is now going down to the local level. So what we are seeing is that colleges and high schools and youth leagues are now being developed. And then we're going to see, as a result of that, a pipeline of young people having an opportunity to become pros in a way that people can map out that we see in traditional sports. So I think that's an interesting aspect or result of the online nature of esports. When I look at mobile gaming, I think this is absolutely the future of esports. I talked to somebody recently on my podcast, Pat Carney, founder and CEO of Tribe Gaming. They are the largest followed mobile esports organization in the world. And he's been a content creator for, I want to say, 8 years on mobile. And just sharing the increases, not only in the phone technology, which help, but also developers and publishers seeing the opportunity for mobile. So they are now creating full fidelity games for mobile. And I think the biggest piece of it that increases reach and adoption globally is the lower barrier to entry. So we know that a console has been a lower barrier than a PC from a pricing perspective. And now that we're seeing more games go to mobile, it's a far less cost for lower income gamers, but also, these countries with massive populations like India, which is a mobile first country. And I think that what's really going to set it off to the next level is 5G being built out. And so I think the countries that are adopting 5G, and as that rolls out, is just going to continually push that further and further. So I absolutely think that mobile is the future of esports.
Great. And Saud, as a gamer and expert in this field, what do you think about this movement? How this will boost the industry?
So first of all, the online gaming surely has a tremendous impact on the industry of gaming. So when I think about it as a sport, like we call it esport now, it's a new sport to the sport family, let's say. And so many sports right now they are trying to adapt to the new technologies, and they're trying to change some of the rules, the way they broadcast their sport, to just keep up with the current generation mindset. So having a sport that it's purely technical, which is esport, that's what makes it so huge and growing so fast. And that growth has direct impact to the gaming industry in general. So now that we have also mobile games coming in, and it's on the hand of mostly everyone, it's easy now to connect with people. It's easy to try new games, and we have so many games that is just for free. You can try it, and it's their business model is only built on microtransaction. So it's easy to try games. It's not like 5 or 10 years ago when you have to think twice before buying a game, because you will stick with it for a long time until you buy a new game.
Wasn't it? And it was expensive as well. It wasn't cheap.
Yeah, sure, yeah. And for now, having a mobile game is growing, and it's easy for non-gamers to engage in gaming as well through their phones. We can see it's clearly beneficial for companies to go and build mobile games, and we see huge titles like Call of Duty, PUBG, Fortnite. They built their own mobile version of the game that give us the idea that this is the future, and this will have will have a huge impact to the industry as well.
Amazing. Well, great. So we can tell that it is a promising, and it's like a boosting field or industry.
There's one thing I'd like to add. Sure. I thought of this during it. It goes to cloud gaming, and from a from a developer's perspective, one of the really interesting things about cloud gaming is, like, I had talked to Stadia, and on the back end, they have Google has these massive server farms, right? So they actually, since they run it all, we basically have unlimited resources. So you could build a game, right now you play a Fortnite and you get maybe 100 players in. But when you have a data center with zero ping between them, there's no lag between different clients. We're talking in the future, I could see games with 100,000 players, 1 million players, because now we're no longer limited by the hard drive, by your local machine. And as a developer, from the developer side, that kind of stuff is really exciting about building much, much bigger games.
Amazing. And what makes it unique, actually, the only thing that would bring the whole world together, like in one place, they communicate, they socialize, and it's amazing, actually. But I heard you
crushing billions of candies. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that's true. I heard you talking about the cloud gaming. So what are the differences between the cloud and the online gaming?
Well, the cloud gaming to me is it limits the type of games you can build and makes games you can build. So like I just said, we can make much, much bigger games. But because there's always, no matter what, in the internet, there's always going to be lag. There are certain games that don't work well on cloud games, like shooters. So I hate to pick on them, but when Stadia came out, they advertised Destiny. It's a shooter. It's not really going to work well, but like having a Civilization on there, or a Candy Crush, those type of games where you can play and you can play them anywhere in a moment. I mean, one of the great things about Stadia is I can go to the website, I can start a game, and it just instantly starts. And it will change the way we think about games, similar to mobile does, but in a different way. Like every new platform, different games will come up. They have different strengths and weaknesses, and it's actually kind of exciting once cloud gaming takes off, the type of game that I can build, and the sheer scale of it.
I think what's interesting about it, I agree with what John is saying from the developer's perspective. I think it will take a little bit of time from the consumer adoption perspective, because one piece of cloud gaming based on the players is there's a lot of sensitivity around not having the game yourself, that it being supported on the cloud, not having it loaded onto your PC or your console, because a lot of gamers are rather than playing just these massive games with, you know, hundreds of thousands of players, they're playing niche titles. They're playing games that they love that just a small percentage love. And at some point, Google Stadia could say, why are we supporting this game? There's only a few thousand players on it. We want to put all our resources towards the ones with millions. And it's very concerning for gamers that they could put hundreds of hours into a game, and because of somebody's decision somewhere else, you know, at Google, I lost all of my progress all of a sudden. And so I'm curious if that will continue to be an issue, or as cloud gaming becomes more adopted, that sensitivity will decrease. So that's what I'm interested to see from the consumer behavior perspective.
Great.
So let me jump in. From my point of view, I don't think that's going to be a problem for much longer, simply because it's just like, you know, people are like, oh, I need to have a physical box. You know, I don't like the fact that I don't have a physical box or a physical disc anymore. And that conversation doesn't exist. And I think in a few years, the conversation about cloud gaming won't exist in that way either.
Well,
and
what I would say,
Google is also worried about their, you know, their community as well. And the people that speak out a lot, they have so many servers running those niche titles is probably, you know, a minuscule amount of their effort. So I think they'll have a really hard time taking down most games.
Yeah, we'll see. I think the biggest difference, I understand the analogy with the physical hardware versus digital. The difference there is you still have the game downloaded on your console without the disc. The major difference here is that you have zero control over what happens with this game. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Well, I also think about, I agree that there's that concern, but I also have games that don't run because my operating system has changed. So, you know, it has happened before. So I'm personally am not as worried about it.
Yeah.
I would like to add something, to when we first talked about the cloud gaming, the first thing comes to my mind is how can we play on the cloud while there's internet issues all over the place. So how can I play against other players with the latency issues? And as John said, it's going to be hard for shooting games. So when we think about cloud gaming and we think about only campaign games, what do you guys think about this? So instead of just buying a game and you finish the campaign and you will stick with it, you can just play it on the cloud, and once you are done, you are done. You can play another game. It's gonna be like Netflix, for example, when you just navigate through games with a subscription and you just play the campaign, and you can go to another game without paying extra money. What do you guys think about this?
Well, you're seeing that right now with like Xbox Game Pass. So I totally think that's viable, and we're going to see a lot more of it in the future. The Netflix of games, as you hear a lot, is something that's absolutely going to happen. From the developer's point of view, it's really interesting. It's an interesting space, especially for, like, example, Xbox Game Pass. You pay X amount of dollars a month. You get a library of games you can play, and if you look at us, you're saying, oh, if they get to play it for free, we don't make any money. However, it's sort of a hybrid free-to-play model, because you can put your game out there and people will play it for free, and then we tend to sell DLC or microtransactions on top of it. So it's kind of like mobile, where they get to play for free, but then we can make money after the fact. So that's one of the reasons why I see us transitioning, as a PC console developer, transitioning to more mobile style. And all the platforms want to have that subscription model because it's nice and it's reliable for them for their revenue purposes.
Great. Ali, you want to add something on the cloud and
actually
online?
guys cover everything actually.
Great.
enjoying listening.
Okay. Though I will go with you with the next topic, which is the strategic games or the royal battle. Like, how did the strategic games achieve growth in sales and popularity of players around the world?
So, can I start about this?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, actually, about strategy, I was talking about mobile because most of our marketing research and our experience in mobile. So, last decade, we see the strategy game growing very fast on mobile. And there is a lot of title cannot going with strategy game, but after actually a battle royale game like Fortnite and PUBG rise in the market, we see very big growing in shooter game in general, and also in PUBG, also Fortnite and other title under a battle royale game. And also we see there is 4 wave from shooter games. So we see some effect on strategy game growing and become, for example, shooter games or battle royale games growing more higher. It's look like spike growing. And still until today there is growing. And actually in COVID-19, we see based on some website we use it, the strategic game back to grow again. That is buoyant. And also there is many potential. We see car games, for example, racing games, sport games, make some growing. And when we talking about gamers, there there is hardcore gamers. They care about games in details. I think that casual gamers they not have a mindset of hardcore gamer. They just looking for fun, playing online with friends, looking for social games.
Occasionally, and not something as a pro.
So and also we see this casual game, they paying on, for example, in our business model, we have free to play. And so we see some people paying per month 10,000 USA dollar. So from developer perspective, there is a lot of opportunity to build monetization strategy. And we see that potential. And we see also there is a lot of mobile gender that growing. For example, fashion games, card game, also board games, puzzle games. And the mobile game, they generate more than 50% from gaming industry. So I think the casual gamer, the big audience of generating revenue, we as a business or in this industry, we must take care about hardcore gamer and also casual gamer needs. So that will also help in the growth.
Great. We'll give coming back to you, John. Davidson, about the strategic games and how it reached this popularity.
I think Fortnite is the greatest example because obviously they're a unicorn, right? What they did, Fortnite was actually kind of the battle royale genre. There was a last-ditch effort with the game. They were about to abandon it, and they said, "Let's try battle royale," and that thing just took off like wildfire. And so I think it's great to look at that game and realize why they had success. So I think some things that we can replicate here. I thought Ali had a great point with the community, creating a social network, if you will, which we're seeing games like Fortnite, games like Minecraft are becoming more social networks than just video games. We're even seeing musical concerts happening in those games, right? In fact, my company PRG is the company that produces those in-game concerts for Fortnite and recently Rocket League. I think a lot of the success too is lowering the barrier to entry, that it was a free game. And it's shocking for people who are not as aware with gaming and esports to see how much money Fortnite has made and say, wait a minute, the game is free. Well, the other part of it is those in-game purchases. And the key, I think, the esports and gaming community, they shy away from pay-to-play games because it feels like you're cheating, right? You can buy your way to winning. And if you look at Fortnite, those are 100% cosmetic items that you're purchasing. So I think enabling people to express themselves with digital items, that young people do not see a difference between digital and physical, right? Their identity in the game is just as real as their physical identity. So enabling people to express themselves through those in-game purchases. And then the other thing I'll add is Fortnite really lowered the barrier to entry by having the game available on all platforms. You can play it on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, mobile. And even if you remember back, PlayStation tried to push against that. They tried to push, and the power of Fortnite broke them to agree to let it on their platform along with all of the others. So, or, cross-platform play, I believe was the situation there. So I think if we look at that and how that can be replicated with other games is taking those things to account. But I'm also interested to see what is the next popular genre in esports for the future, because we did see the MOBAs dominated everything. And then we saw a battle royale, and every publisher just jumped in to have a battle royale game, their version of Fortnite. And I think there's still quite a bit of life left to the battle royale genre, but I'm curious if anybody here or might have some insight on the next genre. Maybe we don't, maybe it'll pop up and everybody will go chasing that again. It's gonna be fun to watch.
One of the really interesting things, again, from the developer's point of view, that we have the growth of Fortnite did the industry something really good that nobody tends to see is Epic was forced to make their engine work on all those platforms, which made it faster, which made it more streamlined. And I'm building a game using Unreal right now. And because of all the work they did for Fortnite, means it's much easier for me to take my current game, which is a cowboy battle royale, and put it on all those platforms as well. So it's going to help accelerate the industry in that way, simply because our tools are better.
What do you think, Sa'ud, about this booming in strategic games?
I would like to add to what John said about Fortnite. Fortnite was the first game to start doing the crossplay. So it's really something that changed the whole industry. So this is something we have to give Fortnite credit for. But how can you sell and market your game as well as market the microtransaction as well? Fortnite made something, I think it's genius, when they started the support creator code. So when you have someone is good at the game or a content creator and you give them a code, everyone who wants to buy anything from the Fortnite shop can add that code, and 5% of the purchase will go to that creator. So everyone is promoting the new cosmetics on Fortnite shop because they will get the 5% for the game. And the weird thing is the consumer is not taking 5% off. They only supporting their favorite creator. So if you don't use the code, you will. It doesn't matter if you use it or not. You will pay the same amount of money. But sometimes people they buy cosmetics not just because they want it. They want to support the creator they love, which is, I think it's genius. And we can see so many creators now. They live on the 5% off from the Fortnite purchase. Yes, it's a win-win. And I think it's genius. And we see now a couple of titles are following this approach.
One of the things you mentioned that's really interesting to me is, over my years in the industry, how much the marketing aspect has changed. And it used to be, you know, back when I started, if you got on the cover of PC Gamer, that was everything. And nowadays, it's all about getting those influencers. It's all about getting on YouTubers and getting streamers. And what they did is absolutely genius, but it was all an effort to get more influencers to show the game. And every time I've seen sales figures, my games, other games, I work for a publisher, as soon as important streamers have come out, sales have spiked. And that's changed as well. It used to be if you got on a PewDiePie or a Dan TDM or a Markiplier, that was huge. It's actually better now to find the streamers and YouTubers that play your type of games because your hit rate's higher. So I guess I'm validating what you're saying is not only was that genius, but it's a general trend in the industry to get seen by those people as much as possible.
It turns to a media game now.
Yeah, that's a big
totally.
marketing strategy for every upcoming game, right? And it's interesting because it's this symbiotic relationship where you have publishers who want to get high followed streamers to play their games, but also in the reverse sense, once a game catches on, everybody jumps to play that title because they want all the eyeballs on themselves with the hot game. In fact, I remember I was at GameStop when Apex Legends was launched. And the crazy thing about that launch, they didn't tell anybody that the game was coming out before they launched it. And they were so concerned, they had a number of flops. And so they felt like, if we have another flop, we're not going to be able to survive this. And if we don't announce this game and it comes out and it flops, we'll just say, oh, that was just like this thing that we put out. But I remember their big push, day one, I was at GameStop headquarters and we're seeing on Twitch every major player playing Apex Legends, and it took off. So yeah, you're exactly right, Saad and John, about the creator influence there. And it's interesting too that it does go both ways throughout the life cycle of the games.
Yeah, because
it is.
I really remember I'm sorry. I really remember the Apex Legends launch because I didn't know anything about Apex Legends, and suddenly it's #1 trending on Twitch. It's the #1 viewed game. When you go there, you see Ninja, you see all the major influencers playing this new game, and it's for free, and which is weird. EA does something for free, and that's what makes it a unique game and unique experience. And everyone is started playing it since.
Yeah, and what's interesting too about as far as the life cycle, the growth of Apex specifically, I mean, everybody on this call knows how difficult it is to pick a winner in gaming, right? For a publisher, developer, you have no idea how well this game is going to do unless maybe you're releasing another version of Call of Duty. You might have a good idea. But the Apex had that spike, but they didn't expect how well adopted the game would be. In fact, we remember because it was a battle royale, but it was a little different than Fortnite. Fortnite, if you're a great shooter, you do well at that game, right? But if you're a great support, you don't have a role that you can do well in Fortnite. Apex, I had friends, I was talking to them, they said, John, I'm a great support. I love playing Apex because I don't have to be that main guy, that shooter. But EA was not poised for the growth of the game, and so they missed out, and the game didn't quite become what it could have had they had that support. But on the other side, you could say, how could they have guessed that this would have been such a success? It's really just a coin flip at that point.
Yeah, it's funny. I was doing a panel at PAX once, and somebody came up to me afterwards and or actually during it, he asked, how do you know a game is going to be successful? And I said, if you figure that out, I will hire you immediately. Because you have no idea how good it's going to be before everything. In retrospect, looking back, saying, yeah, they did such a good job, but internally they didn't know. They do the best they can and hope they hit the right stuff, but you don't know. And especially a lot of it's timing. So like if one of the tricky things as a developer to deal with is when when it comes to influencers, the winners win more. So when Apex comes out and everybody's playing it, if I launch my game at the same time and I didn't know Apex was coming out, I just lose.
Yeah.
Because nobody's gonna be playing my game because I just so happened to launch at the same time this huge launch happened that nobody knew about. So it is a very tricky thing to navigate.
It is, yes. Timing is very important. And mentioning timing, maybe Ali, you can also add in, how was the effect of COVID-19 on the gaming, like you are doing in your business? Was it like positive or negative impact?
Actually, it's very positive, and that month compared to 2019, we make 7x growth.
Wow.
Yeah, in revenue and 3x in number of users.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, so that is very positive on our business.
One thing I would point to, Ali, I'm interested is in the broader. So I saw from my perspective that for gaming as a whole, non-competitive gaming and then online competition was very positive with COVID. Number one, everybody's sick at home, right? But you also had all these headlines with like NASCAR here in the US did video game racing, NASCAR, and that was very positive. So a lot of people became familiar with esports who weren't before. Mm-hmm. But I think the one negative aspect specifically in esports was for teams. And the reason is professional teams have trouble monetizing in general. In fact, partnership revenue is the number one source of revenue still for the esports industry. But they didn't have those events where partners were expected to come and activate to engage the community. And so they weren't able to fulfill those partnerships in those ways. And also the monetization that comes with ticket sales, on-premise merch and things of that nature were completely eliminated. So it's interesting that, and I'm so glad to hear that it was so positive for your business, Ali, and I think extremely positive for gaming. I'm not disputing that, but I think to add to it that the team aspect was very challenged during COVID. I know they're very excited to have events come back.
Yeah, and by the way, our game, it's multiplayer game. So yeah, so that make our game more social. We add some feature to make people connect to each other, playing together, make competition in drag race, for example. Yeah, so yeah, and also we already build a monetization strategy for in-app purchase. And we see, for example, that revenue come from ads drop around 15%, but the game have strong monetization in app purchase. They make very huge growth.
Right, makes it a lot of acquisition, I'm guessing, as far as new player base.
I'm not getting you. Can you repeat?
Oh, I'm guessing that you saw a lot of acceleration in new players who adopted your game during COVID.
Yes, there is a lot.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, the campaign costs also become more cheaper compared to before COVID. Yeah, so we do a lot of campaign to push our revenue to a high level.
That's great.
And how did you find that, Saud, was the effect of COVID-19 on the e-gaming or e-sport, especially here in Saudi?
For me personally, it was a very positive impact because we organize tournaments online, specifically online. We got affected negatively when it comes to LAN events, but it's not our main revenue stream. We operate online. And the positive thing is we had issues trying to convince brands to sponsor our online events. But now that COVID and everyone stay at home, and so many brands, they have their marketing budget and there is nothing to sponsor. So they had to go to something that has the entertainment aspect, which is esports. And so we had some deals with a couple of brands during the pandemic and during the lockdown. And those brands are still investing in esport right now because they tested and they touched the impact on their brand. So this is the good thing, and I totally agree with what John said about teams are affected by COVID, not only for sponsors, only for the events as well. LAN events are completely different than online events. When the LAN events, everyone has the same gear, everyone has the same connection. Only strategy and skill will play a role when it comes to who's gonna win the game. But when you play online, so many things can affect your play. As a team, not necessarily your team will be on the same place to play with each other and to communicate better. So that makes it harder for teams to compete on the same level they were when tournaments were LAN. So yeah, I think it has spikes there and there for the negative side and the positive side as well.
Yeah, I had just one more brief point that's kind of broader than esports a little bit as the result of COVID, which is digital marketing. Saud, you touched on this, digital marketing and also remote events. And so I have a lot of friends in the agency space. And what we've seen in the past is that brands are always hesitant to do digital marketing because they want to do what they've always known. Digital marketing is relatively new. Well, as Saud pointed out, we thought COVID would maybe last 2-3 months at first, right? And so a lot of brands were holding their dollars. They were just waiting for everything to come back. Well, 8, 10, 12 months pass, you have to market. You can't hold on to them. And so I think one of the halo effects, one of the benefits of the result of COVID is digital marketing, that brands and agencies are more comfortable and familiar with digital marketing because we've done it more. And so I expect that online tournaments, online events will see more partnership, more sponsorship dollars flowing in. The other thing is entertainment. And like I said, with PRG, we producing the in-game concerts for Fortnite. But what they did there was they really innovated the event experience remotely with the XR stage. So the same stage where Justin Bieber and Katy Perry and Maroon 5 are performing is taking that technology and putting it inside games for people to experience that socially together. In fact, there's an article in the Esports Observer a couple weeks ago came out on our production, specifically in Fortnite and Rocket League. So it's interesting, the positives and negatives of gaming and esports in COVID, but I think our industry has also impacted broader marketing and entertainment, which is cool to see the influence of our industry in that regard.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, it's now time to move to the Q&A session. We do have a question here. It says, what kind of advice can you give to someone who wants to start their own game studio in Saudi Arabia? So probably the starting will be the same, maybe despite the geographic location, other than the regulations maybe. Maybe we'll have two parts. Yeah, and if we ask this question, if you want to start a game studio, and how we would start that in Saudi Arabia, if someone can enlighten on the regulations from the viewers. Who would like to pick up the answer?
Actually, I can talking about, we have our studio is registered in Saudi Arabia.
Great.
And our team, it's around 50. Nice. Yeah, it's actually, it's my recommendation for anyone to start a game studio in Saudi Arabia. The main challenge is to find a technical person like developers, 3D artists, technical artists. That is a main challenge. So actually I met people here, they would like to start studios. Yeah, but most of them, they not have technical background about gaming. So they spend some money about trying. Yes, so my recommendation is to find technical people they can start together. In my case, actually, I have a computer science degree, and so when I start, I take a course about game development. That back to 2014. Yeah, so I make some marketing research about what player like to play and how many view on YouTube about gaming. So I see some potential and I release my game. So it's, as I said in the beginning of this meeting, it's become a top one in several countries in mobile. Yeah, so now there is a lot of incentive from government, from private, also venture capital. They trying to push people to take courses about gaming. They try to create game studio. Actually, it's very complex process. Yeah, it's really hard to start as individual. Yeah, just don't thinking about regulation. You can start, build your game, study a market, then you release your game and see what is happening in your game.
So if I will summarize it, it will be like market research or market study to identify the right game. Then you need the technical background, plus the team, the right team, this is essential in all businesses. Finally will be the fund. So the fund is the last thing to worry about, because as you said today, there's a lot of movement from VCs and private sector, even with the government, they are pushing toward entrepreneurship with different agencies like public or government and private agencies. Great.
Those three main points are also true in the United States. A team is, you got to have the right team.
True. Yeah.
My company that I started got very close to failing because we had the wrong team. Yeah, and then picking your market, same thing here. Like, don't walk into, from PC consoles, don't walk into pixel art side scrollers, because there's one every 3 games on the Nintendo Switch. You know, find a spot in the market you can actually influence. And then money. You always need money.
Definitely correct. Yes. Always the first thing is just move, but search or look before you step.
And it's always better to spend somebody else's money than your own.
Yeah, that's a great case. Tell me about it. Yeah, love that. Okay, great. I do have another question here. It says, what do we need to keep pace with this development in the gaming industry?
I guess as the developer, I should keep, as one of the developers, one, keeping up with the technology. You can't fall far behind. 2 is actually use the technology that's out there. I coach a lot of indies, and there's a lot of them that want to build their own engine. And I'm kind of like, well, why? You know, pick up Unity, pick up Unreal. Those are the 2 big ones. Learn how to do that. Learn how to use those tools instead of trying to do it all yourself. You know, and especially in today's world, you know, you want to build something, you can go to the asset store marketplaces. You can get things up and running very, very quickly. And that's what you need to be able to do to get on top of things. If you're spending a year or 2 trying to build things from scratch, you'll fall behind. You know, use the tools that are out there. That's the biggest one.
Also, yeah. Also, I will add to you, John. It's going to be so hard to find resources if you build everything from scratch. But if you use some of the current technology with so many people are already familiar with, it's going to be easier to find resources to work with you for your team. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And to add to that as well, especially since COVID has kind of shown us that we can work remotely. And like here in the States, it's really important for us to be able to expand the resources to other areas, because I live near Seattle. It's the home of Microsoft. It's the home of Amazon. Google has a big, if I want to bring in an engineer that knows what they're doing, I can only pay them about $150 a year. And they look at that saying, well, why? I can go to Google and make $300 a year. So it's really important for us to be able to go to different parts of the United States that don't have a lower cost of living and get those people, because trying to get them here in Seattle is really hard.
So always work smarter, not harder. Great.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to go outside your local area.
Okay, that will conclude our questions. We'll like in a minute, if any would like to add something to summarize the session. Maybe John, you want to add something? Deividson?
Yeah, I would just say if you have not dove into the esports industry yet, definitely do it now. This is absolutely the future of entertainment. I think just this panel alone shows how global this community is, right? And gaming is really something that breaks down borders, breaks down barriers, and it's a universal language, the love for gaming. And when you get to esports, it's a much smaller piece of the broader gaming ecosystem, but that's where there are those opportunities for brands to come in and authentically engage the esports ecosystem by enhancing the experiences of competitors and the fans themselves. So I feel very blessed to be where I am in the industry and to be among you on this panel here today. I think as we discussed, the cloud is definitely going to continue to accelerate what we see as far as development in games, and mobile is going to increase adoption of games. And what that next genre is, I think we'll just have to wait and see.
If you figure it out, tell me. I'll build the game.
I will.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Great.
Thanks.
Well, to conclude, I mean, I would say, as you just said, John, this is like a what I see it as like a universal workstation. Everyone is working together at the same time, playing the same game or developing the same like a new game or something, and it is growing, as we saw. No matter if there is COVID, no COVID, it's a growing business. So even for investors, for venture capitals, for today the government is pushing hard toward this. I know it's part of the Vision 2030. We are striving to be on the top of the list. I mean, in the esports specifically, and the e-gaming or the online gaming in general. So I would encourage like players to go pro. I would encourage the developer to create the next, Fortnite, maybe, to see it. Also, the businesses to go and invest more, because it's still a new, aspect in the business world. Usually, people would love to work with assets and tangible stuff, but today, with the esport, with the pivot we saw in the last 10 years, it's really promising, and as you said, it's unifying the world. At the end, I would like to thank everyone. It was for me a pleasure to be with you guys. It was a really excited session. I learned a lot by myself. I was so excited to meet up with you guys. And if there is no more things to add, we'll
I had one minor thing to add.
Sure, please, John.
One of the things that we've been talking about is, the global thing. I've been really excited just to be able to play games from different cultures. I took a trip to Brazil and I saw games with the Brazilian culture. Like, I know nothing about the Saudi culture. I would love to play one of your games just to get a broader sense of the world. That actually really excites me.
So Ali, you have someone now to market to.
Make you play our game.
Well, that's the another beauty of this business. So it has no borders. I mean, you can play anytime, anywhere. At the end of the day, I would like to thank you all again. It was a great initiative also from ThinkTech and MCIT. And thanks for Gamers Without Borders to have us all together. And we'll see you soon, mainly in Saudi here, guys. We love to see you here. And maybe you'll see us in the United States soon as well.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, and have a great night and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.